Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giri Bharadhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giri Bharadhare. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giri Bharadhare. Gopi Jana Ballava Giri Bharadhare. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Raja Janaranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Yamuna Tira Vanachare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihare. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Jai Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad, Paramahansa, and Paravrajak Chaira, Status Srimad. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. ISKCON's founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki. Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Ki. Shri Giri Govardhan Ki. Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki. Sankirtan Yagya Ki. Go Premanande. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to their Samo devotees. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 25, the descriptions of the characteristics of King Paranjan, verse 40. Pitri Devarshi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanash Cha Ha Kshemyam Vadante Sharanam Bhave Smen Yad Grihashrama Pitri Devarshi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanaschaha Kshemyam Vadanti Sharanam Bhavesmin Yad Grihashrama Pitri Devarshi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanaschaha Kshemyam Vadanti Sharanam Bhavesmin Yad Grihashrama Pitri Devarshi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanaschaha Kshemyam Vadanti Sharanam Bhavesmin Yad Grihashrama. Mataji's. Shimarjanam Bhutanam Atmanascha Kshamyam Vadanti Sharanam Bhavesmin Yad Grihashrama Pachidevarshi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanascha Kshamyam Vadanti Sharanam Bhavesmin Yad Grihashrama Devashi Martyanam Bhutanam Atmanascha Grihashrama Pitri forefathers, Deva demigods, Rishi sages, Martyanam of humanity in general, Bhutanam of the infinite living entities, Atmana of oneself, Cha also, Ha certainly, Kshamyam beneficial, Vadanti they say, Sharanam shelter, Bhave in the material world, as men this, Yat that which, Griha ashrama householder life. Translation. The woman continued, according to authorities, the householder life is pleasing not only to oneself, but to all the forefathers, demigods, great sages, saintly persons, and everyone else. A householder life is thus beneficial. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. According to the Vedic system, when one is born in this material world, he has many obligations. He has obligations to the demigods of the sun and moon, King Indra, Varuna, etc., because they're supplying the necessities of life. We receive heat, light, water, and all other natural amenities through the mercy of the demigods. We're also indebted to our forefathers who have given us these bodies, paternal property, intelligence, society, friendship, and love. Similarly, we're indebted to the general public for politics and sociology, and we're also indebted to lower animals, such as horses, cows, asses, dogs, and cats. In this way, as soon as one is born in this material world as a human being, he has so many obligations and is bound to repay all these obligations. If he does not repay them, he is further entangled in the process of birth and death. The Grihamedi, however, who is overly addicted to material things, does not know that if he simply takes shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, he is immediately freed from all obligations to others. Unfortunately, a Griha does not have any interest in Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj says, Matirna Krishne Paratasvato va mito bipadyeta grihavratanam. That's from Bhagavatam 7.5.30. A griha vrata is the same as a griha medi. One who takes sex life to be supreme finds action in Krishna consciousness confusing, either due to his own personal consideration or due to his having taken instructions from others or conferring with them. He becomes addicted to sexual indulgence and cannot act in Krishna consciousness. Pitridevarshi martyanam bhutanam atmanaschaha kshamyam vedanti sharanam bhavesmin yad grihashrama. The woman continued, according to authorities, the householder life is pleasing not only to oneself, but to all the forefathers, demigods, great sages, saintly persons, and everyone else. A householder life is thus beneficial. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschitya Deshatarane Vanchikaptrubhyas Chakripa Sindubhya Evacha Paditanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Sri Krishna Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So the woman who Puranjan has met in the forest and who he's very attracted to, and she is also attracted to him. She is, what would you say, trying to sell him on the idea of householder life. Let's get married. Come on, let's get married. Come on. Trying to emphasize over the last some number of verses that, there are benefits of different types if one becomes a householder. It's very, very helpful, very auspicious, and so on like that. So she's continuing here that household life, of course, is pleasing to the householder or the household couple. It's pleasing and beneficial for them in different ways, so many ways. But it's not just pleasing to the householders. It's pleasing. Household life is pleasing and beneficial to so many others. In fact, everyone else. All the forefathers, demigods, great sages, saintly persons, and everyone else. That's just everyone. Yeah, and even as Prabhupada points out, to some animals. But it's true that we have been helped directly or indirectly by so many people in whatever situation we find ourselves now, with whatever facilities we have available now. This has not just come from nowhere. This has not just come automatically, that you just get it when you're in this material world. But it's due to the hard work of many others. And Prabhupada lists out and gives examples of a number of others who have helped us by their activities in the past or now also. We have been helped in terms of how we're situated now. First of all, Prabhupada talks about how we're obliged to the demigods of the sun and moon. The sun today seems a pleasant sunny day, and so we people can just move around very nicely outside because of the pleasant conditions. Then the moon, of course, in the evening and the night, the moon cools, and the moon does other things. The moon gives taste to vegetables. When Srila Prabhupada first arrived in America, he encountered for the first time frozen vegetables. And his initial thought was, look at this is very nice. This is very good. Assuming that they are of the same quality as fresh vegetables. So he got some and cooked them and found that they're not so nice like the fresh ones. They've been drained of vitality and so on like that. But Shri Shri Radha Radhanath Shri Giri Govardhan Shri Caitanya Mahaprabhu Ki Jai. But the fresh vegetables which have been sitting outside and at night exposed to the moonbeams, then the understanding is, this is what gives them their taste, their tastiness, and their vitality, which gives us vitality and strength, and through which we can function and do so many things nicely. Yes, in other words, if we simply had to live on frozen veggies, wouldn't be so good. Yeah. And this is why, vegetables that grow in glass houses, out of season, like that, they just are not as nice. So, but when the vegetables are exposed to the rain, direct rain, and then some sunlight, and through the night some moonlight, then they really become just very nice and extremely good for us. So we're obliged to the demigods who are in charge of those functions. Surya for the sun during the day, Lord Indra for the rain whenever the rain comes, hopefully not too much like in the Govardhan Leela, but under normal circumstances, some nice rain. And then Chandra, the moon at night, where we have obligations to them. And we cannot say that we have no obligations to them. We're just here, and we're not obliged to them. Because those demigods, and not just those ones, but Varuna in charge of the seas and bodies of water, which are supplying the water to Indra for the rain, and various others. They're supplying the necessities of life. So that's the demigods. And we cannot say that we're just independent from them. And then there's our forefathers who have established everything which is available, like, for example, the roads. Back in the old days, if you wanted to go into town, you had to walk or take a horse or something like that. But now our forefathers have given us vehicles of different types, even buses, and 50 of us can go at one time. And our forefathers, of course, have given us these bodies. Our immediate parents have, but before them, their parents, and before them, their parents, and so on. This whole process of reproduction has led to us being here in our material bodies today. So we are indebted to them. There's no doubt about that. And our parents, particularly if they really worked hard and if they were somewhat successful, then we have managed to inherit some money, some property, and whatever else like this. And then the whole social environment is there of relatives. So we have a whole natural circle of friends and affectionate types of people. And then there's just our friends. There's a saying that a good friend, not a family member, but someone independent from our family situation, but that person is a good friend, then they say good friends are chosen family members. They're the same as family members, but we have chosen them because of the development of some natural type of friendly relationship. So we're indebted, would you believe it, we are indebted to the politicians. Haribol. Yes, because they've organized things. And not only organized things, they organized things for themselves also, but they did organize some things for us. And so we have facilities. And the general public, there's so much indebtedness around us. We're just surrounded by indebtedness. And even Prabhupada mentions the animals, horses, cows, asses, dogs, cats. You know, of course, we criticize these animals sometimes, more often than we appreciate them. But, you know, sometimes dogs protect us. It definitely happens. Sometimes even cats protect. And cows, of course, cows provide us with milk. If we didn't have milk throughout our whole lives, including now, our physical health would just not be the same. One devotee, I forget who it was, many years ago, more in Prabhupada's time actually, gave a class about, which involved at least talking about some industrialist who was trying to get money from the people. You know, they say a fool and his money are easily parted. So this person, he was manufacturing soft drinks, particularly Fanta. And he came up with some sort of, at least the devotee in the class, it may have been Vishnu Jan actually, came up with this whole theory that milk is not good for you. You must not drink milk for various reasons. But what you must drink is Fanta. This is what he said in the class. I heard it. I listened to the class a number of times. It was quite popular, maybe 50 years ago. And as a result of that, he said, then some of the ladies who gave up drinking milk, but now they're just drinking Fanta and more Fanta, they gave birth, the devotee said, to sort of, defective children. This is what he said. Some disabilities and deformations and all this sort of thing. And this is somewhere in Latin America, some sort of obscure type of place where they're not very tuned into what's going on. So there was a whole generation of what, according to him, were Fanta babies. I remember there was, I forget what the drug was, thalidomide. I think in America, some chemical thalidomide was recommended for mothers or expecting mothers who are going to give birth in a while, that they should take this thalidomide. As a result, I'm sure you can Google it because it was a real phenomenon in the Western world, in America. And as a result, similarly, like deformed babies and so on and so forth, they took birth, and they were known as thalidomide babies. Yeah. So anyway, how did we get into that? But yes. Anyway, one way or the other, we have, as we stand today, as we're living right now at this moment, we have been assisted by so many people and even animals in different ways, even going back for a long time into the past, going back into the previous generations and centuries. So what to do? What to do about all of that? Well, Prabhupada mentions here that, of course one could take up some program of worshipping demigods, worshipping the forefathers, trying to help the general public, and trying to help the politicians, trying to help the animals, etc., etc. One could do that. And some people do that. But what Prabhupada is recommending here, Prabhupada says that the Griha Maidi, however, who is overly addicted to material things, does not know that if he simply takes shelter at the lotus feet of Mukunda, he is immediately freed from all obligations to others. This is, one of the most foundational points in Krishna consciousness, that simply by taking shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then one has repaid all debts and fulfilled all obligations, and one doesn't have to make any extraneous efforts to do anything for anyone else other than try and give them Krishna consciousness and try to be Krishna conscious ourselves. But otherwise these obligations exist. And even, there were some incidents with Srila Prabhupada which we're aware of, in which Srila Prabhupada encouraged devotees, like at least with their parents, to try to reciprocate and really be very nice with them. I'm trying to look up who is it who said it. Was it Madhavendra Puri? Anyway, he spoke a nice prayer saying that through Krishna consciousness he is bidding adieu to different practices and different people. But anyway, in terms of Srila Prabhupada, the well-known late Brahmananda Prabhu asked Srila Prabhupada, what should he do about his mother? Should he try to help his mother in some way, now that he's a devotee? And Srila Prabhupada said that, yes, you should go and visit your mother and be nice and so on, at least like that. So he did. He went to visit his mother. His mother did not know that he had become a devotee because, particularly back in those days, Krishna consciousness was not so much of a family thing as it is now, very much a family thing. But in those days, usually some young Westerner who was already independent from his or her family would become a devotee and just feel that all I need is Krishna and I don't need anything or anyone else. And they'd sort of become negligent towards their own parents. So Prabhupada told Brahmananda Prabhu he should go and visit his mother in New York somewhere. So he did. And he was living in the temple and dressed like those of us who are wearing saffron in one way or another, shaved head, tilak, and just, neck beads, and very nice Vaishnava appearance. But his mother was not used to such things, or in fact had no experience at all of such things. And he came to her place, knocked on the door. She opened the door. And Prabhupada had told him that when you first meet her, you must bow down and offer obeisances. So she opened the door, and he bowed down and offered obeisances. This is what's there, in the biographies and so on. And she, she just couldn't believe it. Just couldn't believe it at all. And so she didn't say anything. She just closed the door. And that was it. Of course, now it's much more of a family affair. As we know, we have grandparents who are devotees, and then their children are devotees, and then the grandchildren are devotees. Maybe we have even some, maybe we have some great-grandparents and grandparents and parents, and then the children of the parents. But in those days, sometimes it was like that, lose contact with the parents. So the point is, in Krishna consciousness, that all these, at least the obligations, those obligations are definitely there. And you cannot just wish them away or just overlook them or neglect them just like that. Those obligations are there, and any responsible human being will feel the burden of that responsibility. But, as Prabhupada mentions here, that a Griha Medi means someone who's really dedicated to household existence, not in a Krishna conscious way, but just in the very materialistic way of just getting money and providing and have a nice big television to watch all the television shows and a big house to drive around here and there and visit different events and so on and so forth, and that the husband is there, the wife is there, and that their sexual relationship is a very central part of their relationship. This is the Griha Medi. Then, so as Prabhupada says, they're overly addicted to material things. And they don't know that if they simply take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna as Mukunda, Mukunda meaning he who frees one from one's entanglements in this world, who gives liberation, then if we take shelter at the lotus feet of the Lord, then all those obligations are taken care of completely. And there's no need to pursue somehow or other fulfilling those obligations. Of course, in another sense, there is another obligation. There's definitely another obligation, is that now, by the mercy of Mukunda, Lord Mukunda, the Supreme Lord, who frees us, by the mercy of Lord Krishna, then we are obliged to the Lord, we're obliged to the spiritual master to distribute the mercy that they have given us. We should not just sit back, as they say, sit on our laurels, that now we're successful, we don't need to do anything, we can just relax. But there's a great obligation transcendentally. So of course we're freed by that one act of surrendering completely to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. All the other obligations we're discussing, those obligations, we're freed from all those, the responsibilities and the needs to do things in order to reciprocate in terms of those obligations. But the greater obligation to the Supreme Personality of Godhead and to the spiritual master and the devotees who are enlivening us and helping us and encouraging us and guiding us, that obligation is there, a different obligation, transcendental obligation. But unfortunately, Prabhupada is focusing on the Griha Medis, the Griha Vratas. Griha Vrata, the term, well, Griha means house. Vrata means a vow. And then there's Griha Medi. Griha Medi means basically absorbed, being absorbed in Griha, in the household situation. And Griha Vrata means someone, literally at least, someone who's taken a vow. I will be dedicated to everything to do with my house and my household and everything to do with that. So Prabhupada refers to famous verse, 7th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 5, verse 30, which is addressing such people, the Grihavratas and Grihamedis, and those who sort of, they're degraded by being absorbed in the household situation. Let's just get that verse out. Matirna Krishne paratasvato va mito bipadyeta griha vratanam griha vrata. Mito bipadyeta griha vratanam adantago bia vishatam tamisram puna punas charavata charavananam, which means, it's Prahlad Maharaj speaking, because of their uncontrolled senses, persons too addicted to materialistic life make progress toward hellish conditions and repeatedly chew that which has already been chewed. Their inclinations toward Krishna are never aroused, either by the instructions of others, by their own efforts, or by a combination of both. So that's the unfortunate situation of the great majority of people. And when we say great majority, we're talking about at least 99 point something percent of humanity, that they, it may vary according to the cultural environment, the situation, the nationality, and how things work locally. But one way or another, their senses are controlling them. We want to eat, to sleep, to mate, to defend. That may happen in somewhat different ways, depending on the circumstances, but their uncontrolled senses are dictating, we want, sense enjoyment. And in this way they become too addicted to materialistic life. And in that sense, in that way, they go down. And one of the interesting points there, punas charavata charavananam, repeatedly chewing that which has already been chewed, means the same old thing, the same old male-female relationship, the same old thing, eating the same old things, doing the same old things, chewing that which has already been chewed, just repeating things. But somehow or other there's some idea in their minds that even though I've already done this so many times before, and even I may feel like, I have felt from time to time enough, but they still go back to it. There was, in my youth, there was a fairly famous song, popular song. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? Did you hear of that one? Anyone, you heard of that one? Anyone from our era would definitely have heard that. It was somewhat famous. And it was it was literally about chewing the chewed. That you already chewed the chewing gum. And anyone who's chewed chewing gum before knows that it has some coating of some sugariness, but it doesn't last long, and then you're just chewing the gum, which is tasteless. So that was the famous song, one famous song from, the 50s or 60s or something like that. Does your chewing gum lose its flavor on the bedpost overnight? You stop chewing it and you stick it on the head of the bed, so when you get up in the morning you can chew it again. Seriously. Yeah. So this is really just, literally chewing that which has already been chewed, and sort of, you could say chewed to death. The chewing gum is dead. It's had it. It's finished. It's got nothing left that it can offer at all. But still you chew it again. But ultimately that's what's going on in material life. And just people don't have a deeper perspective on what is their situation and what they're doing in their situation and what the situation can offer them. So they end up like that. They end up like that. And as a result, particularly when they get old, they become frustrated. The so-called golden years of being retired and all that. It's just, my father he liked Krishna consciousness to some degree, but not too much. One of his friends became a devotee and was managing the Govinda's or Gopal's restaurant in central Auckland. He'd go and visit him every month and have prasadam every month. But otherwise, when he was stuck at home and retired, and he had been a very busy businessman, but it was just boring and frustrating. And my mother complained to me. I used to visit occasionally. My mother complained, you must speak to your father. Often I find him just sitting there watching the Muppets, which is, truly stupid, even by television standards. And she told me I must speak to him. He should at least watch something more useful. Anyway, that's material life, though. And for the people in general, as Prabhupada says, one who takes sex life to be supreme finds action in Krishna consciousness confusing, either due to his own personal consideration, what he thinks himself of his own accord, or due to his having taken instructions from others or conferring with them, but people are not qualified to confer with or take instruction from, then they just become addicted to sexual indulgence and just everything that goes with it, and cannot act in Krishna consciousness. So the lady here who is speaking to Paranjan, she's really trying to promote householder life. Oh, it's very good householder life. It's so beneficial because it's pleasing to you and the forefathers, demigods, great sages, saintly persons, everyone else, even the animals. So therefore our householder life is thus beneficial. So, of course the thing is, even though this is Srimad Bhagavatam, this is just being presented in the context. It's not actually being presented in the context that householder life is just so beneficial. Should just go for it. It's being presented in the context in which, in due course, it will be made very clear that a materialistic householder life is definitely the opposite of beneficial, very detrimental. Yes. So therefore, as much as possible, we should take shelter at the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Mukunda, but then accept the responsibility that comes with that and try and help others to become Krishna conscious, and then our lives will actually become fulfilled. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Any comments or questions? Yes, Prabhu. Here comes a microphone.
This question of obligation amongst in our society, I know in India there have been many issues with young students and men joining ISKCON and neglecting their parents, and I've heard that in one of the temples they've made a policy that you can't join the ashram until if you're a single child particularly, until you've made enough money and you've set it aside for the old age of your parents. So how do we see this? I know when I joined ISKCON, I had already given up all obligation. And my temple president asked me about my parents, and I said, well, I haven't even been they don't even know where I am. And his response was, well, no, a devotee can't cause unnecessary pain to anyone. You have to call your parents and let them know where you are. And they became, lifelong friends of the movement as opposed to others, perhaps. So how do we see this as devotees? Yes, we're not obliged. We're free of the obligation, but does that mean the other side was that we go to a neglectful? We become neglectful. So.
Yes, well, of course, it's an important point. And here in South Africa, similar situation in regards to parents in so many cases as in India. Just one interesting point is that because our parents, it's one thing having brothers and sisters you have a relationship with, but the relationship, particularly from the side of the parents, is the strongest, usually. The parents, are the most attached to you, usually. Sometimes, a brother or sister may be, but the parents, it's almost, at least in so many cases, they're very attached. And therefore, it's in Nectar of Devotion. It's one of the 64 qualities to not cause distress to other living entities. Yes, so one has to be mindful and, with one's parents, particularly, and brothers and sisters, but particularly parents, try and help them spiritually, first of all, as much as one can, but then it may also be materially, like in Prabhupada's case, with not his parents, but his wife and children. He left them, in those days, fairly substantial amounts of money in his will. And he was giving, every month or so, giving something for their maintenance. So to just write the relationship, it's one thing if the parents or anyone is just, becomes aggressively opposed to you, then it's definitely a lot more complicated. But otherwise, one should definitely make efforts to help spiritually, and then, if possible, help materially to some degree. I know in my own case, while my parents were living, they both passed away quite some years ago, but I used to go and visit them in New Zealand every year for a week, 5-6 days. For the last 28 years they were living, I went 27 times. I only missed 1 year because there was a crisis anyway, and I only missed 1 year. And they really appreciated that. And it really, because they didn't know where they stood for the first so many years. I was in England, they were in New Zealand. I would write occasionally, but not too much. But then I went to see them after 7 years. And they really appreciated it. And it sort of balanced and normalized the relationship. Otherwise, you know, they were thinking, gosh, he's taken up something strange. Yeah. So therefore, in as Krishna conscious a way as possible, but being mindful, it's a good idea, not just a good idea, it's basically a natural duty to help one's parents. And it depends on, at least, you know, like financially or so on, depends on one's circumstances. If a devotee is a business person, or even if they're just working, but they could contribute something. That's some thoughts on the subjects. What do you think?
You just mentioned a duty, so it seems that there's obligation, but there's also duty, so that one may be free of the technically free of the obligation, but you still, according to your position, and there are duties, and Krishna tells us that we don't, in devotional service, we don't give up our duties. We engage our duty becomes connected to Krishna's service. So, my own case, I felt fortunate that I could help take care of my parents in their last days. And it was an opportunity also to inject some Krishna consciousness into their lives.
Sure. Thank you. Prabhu.
Me and Maharaj were discussing after hearing about His Grace Churu Prabhu leaving his body, and it was the shock of so many Prabhupada disciples just leaving. It really hits us in so many ways. One particular way was that Prabhupada's disciples like yourself and so many worked so hard and brought this movement to life in so many ways. It's us who are supposed to follow in your footsteps. We feel like we don't have nowhere near the caliber to endeavor like you did for Srila Prabhupada. The relentless endeavor, the pioneering that you did, starting temples. I'm just thinking like our generation of devotees, nowhere near to like thinking about opening a center or a temple or spreading the movement as much as your generation did. And you were talking about obligation to the spiritual master. So in that way, we were thinking about how can our generation carry on what you've done and not water down the endeavor of especially spreading Krishna consciousness.
That's a comment.
It's like a question. How can we have the
How
same?
can?
Yeah.
Well, yes. Yes, you know, it was interesting in those days. I mean, it's interesting now, but it's very interesting now. It was very interesting in those days. And, well, you know, one thing was that, at least in my experience, and I know so many others, it was fun. doing all these things and going to places and doing something, and it was great fun, actually. It wasn't like, whoa, we're going to go to this place and, somehow or other try and do something despite the situation. It really wasn't like that at all. I mean, at least our mood. But yes, one needs to, through reminding ourselves, because Prabhupada, in his books and his classes, particularly those, but also, in other, like, communications of different types, but particularly those, Prabhupada's giving Krishna consciousness like what we read today. It's so essential and foundational, and it's just so full of transcendental Shakti that if we keep ourselves, if we keep imbibing regularly, like on a daily basis, what Prabhupada says, then we'll feel inspiration, motivation, that let's do things. And I mean, I think you're doing things. You are doing things. It's not like you're not lazy people. Because what happens often, well, like in wealthy families, the father usually has really worked and accumulated. And now the children come, and now, well, they say born with a silver spoon in his mouth, and they just want to take advantage of what the father did and have money and get fancy cars, etc., etc. So we don't want spiritual versions of that, that now we can relax because so much has been done so far. And so much has been done, definitely. But there's a need to do so much more. My gosh. In terms of, what percentage of what needs to be done, what percentage has been done, it's a small percentage. It's very small. So there's scope for doing, pioneering things, even just pioneering within, if one happens to be resident here, or wherever one is resident, pioneering within that city or that area. But the thing is, we have to really keep close to Prabhupada to get that. And I mean, the instructions which are coming, valid instructions, and then we'll feel in a natural way that, oh, what a necessity, and what an obligation, what a duty I have, and so I must not, now we've got a big temple and everyone's got their own room. That's what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was saying, right? We built the big temple in Bag Bazaar, and now the senior devotees are concerned, what room will I get? So we have to really be careful about that sort of thing. Take what we need, which is offered to us, but otherwise have that spirit from the contact with Prabhupada and those who are really connected with Prabhupada, that spirit of pushing on the movement, because there's a vast amount to be done. Like in Delhi, they have, I don't know how many temples, it may be 20, it's something like that. 10, I think, big. And then there's another 10 or something which are there, some other centers. And of course, Durban's not as big as Delhi, and even Johannesburg isn't so big, but still they're big enough. We've got 2 fairly major temples here in Durban, we should probably have 6 or more. Even the Christians, they have churches. I mean, it's all on a smaller scale, but they have in every suburb. That's the usual sort of program. That's what I'd say. But we appreciate the service you're doing very much. You've done and you're doing. Keep it up. Take the Harinam out there. Give them the Harinam. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.